Yes, hi and welcome everyone. For the next presentation, my name is Daniel Torsson, analyst at ABG, covering IT and technology companies. And with us today, we have the pleasure to have INVISIO and CEO Lars Højgård Hansen. So I leave it over to you for a presentation, and I will end with a couple of questions.
Thank you very much. INVISIO is actually celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And in those 25 years, we have become the world global leader in protection equipment for people that work in extremely noisy environments like military servicemen and police officers, firefighters, etc. Our mission is protection at work so that you can live a better life, a normal life at home, so that you don't get injured unnecessarily. So inadequate communication in very noisy environment is often the case for many professionals. It could be in, of course, times of war, but it could also be for police officers in terms of riots, crowds, football matches, whatever, where the noise level is very high, where you have a hard time communicating with each other, and where there's a risk then for making the wrong decisions due to lack of communication. Another part of this high noise working environment is also that a lot of people get injuries unnecessarily due to either bangs, high noises, or even exposure to high noise over a long period of time will eventually damage your hearing. We know from statistics that this is a general problem both in Europe and the US. Especially in the US, I would say that majority of servicemen in the military have some kind of hearing loss, and 1 out of 3 police officers also have these kind of challenges. This is, of course, very painful for the people that are injured and have hearing issues, but it's also very costly to societies because you have to pay compensation to your workers, you have to help them with hearing aids, and maybe even take them out of service because they're not able to perform their job when they have poor hearing. So INVISIO today, in brief, is that we are based in Copenhagen. Some of you might know that Copenhagen is sort of the Silicon Valley for hearing technologies. We have 3 of the world's leading hearing aid companies in Copenhagen. We have headset companies. We have lots of educations at the technical university related to hearing. So we have for more than 60 years been building a cluster for hearing technologies around Copenhagen, and that's what we benefit from. That's how we are able to find the right people, competences, and so forth in our growth history. But we also have offices now in the US, a sales office. We have a company in the UK that we bought some years ago with a development department and some manufacturing, and sales offices in France, Italy, and the Far East in Thailand. Our main customer groups are law enforcement, military, and we also are starting to address users within firefighting, because firefighting officers are also exposed to very high noise and difficulties with communication in those noisy environments. And especially firefighters within military functions are exposed to very high and potentially damaging noise. One of the success factors for our company in the last 20 years has been a very close collaboration with customers. We do, of course, normal marketing, glossy brochures as everyone else, but the main function for us, the main marketing tool, is actually to be really, really close to our customers and make sure we fully understand where they operate, how they operate, what needs they have, and develop our products based on that. We have especially close relationship with military special forces, with police special forces, and have learned from them over the years and have been able to develop world-leading product solutions that meet their needs. Our market is a little bit special. It is a niche market, but it's also characterized with a number of entry barriers, one of them being that you often have a very long time relationship with your customers. We are talking contracts that can be 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And even when it comes to solutions for high noise vehicles, we are maybe talking contracts of 20 to 25 years. So it's very long relationships, and it means that once you have the contract, once you are in, then you can have good business for yet many years, and also often be able to keep competition out for quite a number of years. Since the early days, another characteristic of INVISIO is our business model. We have a scalable business model where all manufacturing are outsourced, so our own core competences are R&D, sales and marketing, but manufacturing is outsourced to leading large European EMS manufacturers. So most of our products are manufactured in Europe and close to our facilities. We have manufacturing in Sweden, in Germany, in Poland, and in other European countries. We have a niche market, as I said, but with very attractive growth potential. Our total addressable market is estimated at about 14 billion Swedish kronor. Now, these are numbers before the Russian invasion of Ukraine. These numbers will be updated at some point in time, hopefully later this year. So I would say that the potential is definitely greater, but that's not my point here. The point is more that we have a huge opportunity to grow our business, our company, over the next many years. In terms of our core products, the hearing protection solutions, we have probably only penetrated about 10% of the potential market, so there is a lot more to come over the coming years. Not only in our existing markets in Europe and North America, but also expansion into other areas, especially in Southeast Asia and to some extent in South America. Now, our products are characterized by being built on platforms, so we can build multiple variants on the same product, but also that they are modular and that they are interoperable, so we can connect everything in a system. So on the upper left-hand corner here, you have our, what we call the personal system. It normally consists of a hearing protection headset of some type. We have different models. Then you have a small control unit on your chest. That's where you control your communication from. And then that connects with a cable to some type of, we call it a radio. It's a modern walkie-talkie that the police officer or the soldier has. So this is sort of the personal equipment for when you are in the field. Then in the upper right-hand corner, we have our high noise solutions. This is from a company we bought 3 years ago called Racal Acoustics in the UK. For 50 years, they have been the market leaders in this area. And we bought them during the pandemic. And they provide hearing protection headsets, really heavy-duty stuff for the high-noise vehicles like tanks, like in and around helicopters, ground crew, and also armored vehicles and personnel carrier vehicles. Areas where there's really a lot of noise. Now then also, during the pandemic, we invested quite heavily in continued R&D and new products, and we introduced a very innovative new product category, which is a portable intercom system. It's the size of an iPad, basically, and it's something you can carry with you. If you are 4, 5, 6 people, and you would like to be able to quickly set up intergroup communication in a vehicle, you can do this from this portable solution. So it's very simple. You can carry it in a rucksack, and then in a vehicle, in a helicopter, in a boat, you can quickly connect 5, 6 people and make sure everyone can listen to the same communication, can talk to each other, and when they leave the vehicle, they can put it back in the rucksack and take it with them. Something very new and unique, and of course, due to the given situation in Ukraine and Europe, this is a product category that we see great growth potential for. Everything is then tied together with cables. I often get the question, why is it not wireless? Technologies that you offer must be much better with wireless. Yes, probably, but the problem is security and encryption and similar. Our type of customers have encrypted communication that should not be able to be disturbed, jammed, or listened to, so therefore cables is still the predominant solution for interfacing. So it's a global niche market, and it's also a market where there's only a handful of competitors. INVISIO is the market leader. We're the only ones with a product portfolio that, like the one I just showed you. We have a couple of larger global competitors, but they only have part of the portfolio. They don't have the entire suite of products as we have. And then there are some few local competitors in different markets. But all in all, it is a fairly limited competitive situation. And why is that? Probably because it is a niche market, probably because it is with very high barriers of entry. If you don't have a contract, you don't get into a market, and it can take 5, 6, 7 years before you get in. So therefore, sometimes the market is not so attractive if you are a new player. And as I said, long contracts will deter people from trying to get in because they don't know if they will be successful in entering the market over time. Some of the market drivers that are really long-term here is what we call structural growth due to modernization programs. And this is because many police organizations and military forces are constantly updating and upgrading the equipment that they use. Communications has in many countries been a little bit behind. It is probably a surprise to you that still in many countries only 1 out of 10 soldiers actually have a communication radios. The others are using hand signals and talking loud to each other. It's not like in private life where everybody has a mobile phone. Here it's still only a few that has the radio. But this is changing, and this is changing rapidly. And this is a driver for us that as soon as a soldier has a communication radio, then our solution becomes very desired and acceptable. So this is the long-term driver. Another one is the awareness about hearing loss and the costs and effect of this. As I said from the beginning, this is very costly for many countries. We are talking billions of dollars in the US just to compensate soldiers that have been injured and need compensation and hearing aid and so forth. Last but not least, maybe contrary to what you would think, many of the new weapon systems, vehicles, aircrafts that are being introduced these days are not less noisy than before, they are more noisy than before, and that puts an even bigger need in the market for our type of solutions. There are vehicles today that are so noisy that by law you can only be inside the vehicle for about 15 minutes without getting hurt, and then you need to take a break. And that's, of course, not very interesting. You have to be, of course, in the vehicle longer than that if you have an operation that needs to carry on. So 2022 saw a paradigm shift. You're all well aware of this, I'm sure. And this has led to the largest increase in military spendings in Europe in 30 years. And equipment as well as personnel. We haven't seen so much of it yet. We've all heard and read about the budget increases and all the money being funneled out to defense. Most of it at this point in time is going to support Ukraine. And we believe that only from 2025 and onwards will we see some of the investments actually being made in the local markets in Europe especially. But we are talking, of course, massive investments in defense industries over the next 10 to 15 years. And this should be a very interesting driver for INVISIO. So just a little about the numbers. First quarter 2024 was really good for INVISIO, and we had a record order as a highlight for our portable intercom system, worth about 230 million Swedish krona. And what was new this quarter was that we were actually also asked to deliver the vehicle radio, the communication device that should sit inside the vehicle and connect to our intercom. This is new. This is not something we are going to do a lot in the future, but it is something that we were asked here because the end user wanted a full turnkey solution just to be installed in these vehicles. This resulted in a record high order intake of almost 700 million, and we now have an order book exceeding 1 billion going into the next quarter. Another highlight, I'll just come back to that, is the new X7 headset, as we call it, that we just announced. We have seen sales growth of about 30%, rolling 12 months, and with good operating margin. As I said, record high order intake. We can see here since 2019, even with a bit of a dip in the pandemic years, we have seen a very good and positive trend. And we can see also now that many customers are asking for products, solutions that are already tried and tested. They don't want to make any experiments at this point in time. Things have to work, have to be proven, and this is definitely an advantage for us. We have a strong order book, highest ever, but still about 80% of the order book will be delivered within 12 months. And how is that possible? It's possible because we have a very strong network of outsourced manufacturing companies. We have second source supply for all our products, and ramping up is only a matter of components and getting more people into the manufacturing. But this can be done with a relatively short time frame. So this is definitely a stronghold of the company. And another part of being able to deliver is that we constantly keep a product inventory of about 200 to 250 million Swedish kronor to be able to deliver relatively fast when customers demand. And this is definitely a competitive advantage that none of our competitors are able to do. Good delivery. In the last 6 quarters, revenues are up significantly year on year. We grew 60% from 22 to 23. And this is not only because of increased activities, it's also because we have increased our product portfolio. So the acquisition of the British company Racal and the new intercom and so on has meant we have a much broader product portfolio, and therefore we are much better in line with market growth expectations. We keep a strong gross margin, around 60%, so we have a good starting point for making money, and this is sort of at a stable level between quarters. And operating expenses is also quite stable. As I said, we invest mainly in people, in R&D and in sales. We don't have any investments in manufacturing. That is all outsourced. In the last 12 months, our revenues increased by 30%, but our OPEX only with 25, and our headcounts with 18. So revenues is on a good track to grow more than our expenses, and that will hopefully over time mean better margins. As you can see on this slide, we had a bit of a dip during the pandemic where we were all locked in and could not visit our customers, and it was hard to sell anything when we were not allowed to meet with customers. But we have definitely picked up after the pandemic. We continued to invest in new products, and when the pandemic was over, we had a completely new portfolio of products, including Racal, including the intercom, and we've been selling all we can since that. And over time, the EBIT margin is expected to improve with growing sales. Our financial target is EBIT margin of 15% as a minimum, but we expect to be well above that going forward. And our other financial target is revenue growth of about 20% per year in average, which we have also exceeded in the past 5 years. So, yes, I think we have talked about the intercom system order already in detail, so I don't want to go into that. Only last compliments is around our new X7 headset, which is an in-ear solution. We are the only one in the market with an advanced in-ear solution. As on the consumer market, there's a lot of advantages with having in-ear, much smaller, much lighter, doesn't interfere with your helmet or your gear, much better when it's hot. So, and now we have updated our in-ear solution to the next generation, which also includes advanced algorithms, artificial intelligence that helps the user distinguish what is it that I would like to hear and what is it that I really don't want to hear, that is that disturbs me or is not really relevant. So a lot of, but the most important for this headset is that it has a totally outstanding level of hearing protection. You're probably not familiar with SNR and NNR levels, but we provide 39 decibel of attenuation, and this is by far better than any other product on the market. If you take a standard product on the market today, like an ear cup, that gives you about 29. This in-ear gives you 39. What does that mean? It means that if you can work 1 hour with a standard over-ear headset in a noisy environment, then you can be 8 hours in the same environment with the in-ear solution that we have. That's how good it is compared to existing solutions. And for really explosions, shots, whatever, the in-ear solution can tolerate 3 times higher the sound pressure than a standard ear cup. So this is something that we believe will be a game changer in the industry. And we are just in the process of ramping up now and preparing for a lot more sales. So finally, high activity in the market for many years to come. We are in a very, very good spot, and we think that INVISIO is well placed to continue to deliver profitable growth for many years to come.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lars. I have a question on the intercom order that you showed us here.
Yep.
You have a very interesting situation there with the big demand for a new type of product, while your competitors have long lead times to deliver to customers. What's really the discussions you have with customers right now, and should we expect similar orders as the one in March to continue?
I think so. The intercom product is very good in the sense that it can also easily be installed in what we call retrofit. If you have vehicles already that you are pulling out of inventory, as is happening right now, and you don't have anything in those vehicles, it's very easy to install our intercom in those vehicles, because it doesn't need any, you don't need any drilling holes and screws and stuff. It can just be mounted with Velcro very easily. You don't need any approvals, or it's plug and play. And it's at a price level which is very, very favorable towards traditional intercom solutions.
Yeah, I see. And then geographically, INVISIO is mainly the US and Europe, naturally. Yep. Where do you see the strongest demand? What has really changed over the last 1 year? What do you expect ahead?
There's no doubt that right now and for some years to come, I think Europe will be the main driver for our demand. US also, but Europe. But then we also now see quite interesting demand from certain parts of Southeast Asia. So I think that the Asian region, we do have some good business there already, but I think that's an area of interesting growth over the next 5-6 years. But Europe is definitely going to be, and NATO in general, going to be the most important market for us.
Yeah. And then a question on R&D. I mean, you spend quite a lot on R&D, product development. You showed us the X7 headset here. How important is that to differentiate from competitors?
Very.
As you also say that competition is quite limited.
Yes, very. We are of the opinion that innovation is everything, and working closely with customers. So we spend 15% of our revenues on R&D, and we did even more during the pandemic. We were quite convinced that innovation, a new product. So that we will do and continue to do quite a lot. And that is the foundation for future growth and expansion into other areas as well.
Yeah. If you look at the personal systems, what would you estimate is the lifetime for those products? When do they need to be replaced? How does it work? Because that affects the TAM quite a lot.
Technically, they can of course last a long time, but it all depends on how much are they used and where are they used. But our best estimate is about 3 to 5 years replacement from a physical point of view. But sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's longer. But from a technical point of view, we have also introduced new generations of products. Yeah, probably every 5 years is a good mark for that as well. The logistical setup behind introducing new products is quite complex for military customers and even for law enforcement. So anything faster than 5 years is a bit too quick for them to roll out and absorb and utilize.
Yeah. And if we look at the longer-term growth rate or the growth potential, you are firstly being driven by an increased penetration of soldiers and people actually wearing some kind of better communication or head protection, and then secondly that the number of soldiers are actually increasing. Yes. What do you think is the main driving force for growth rates ahead?
I think it's a combination of all of those. I think a few years ago, many people thought that you wouldn't need soldiers. You could do with drones and other things, but I think Ukraine has shown that that's not the case. And we hear almost all countries in Europe now saying that they need more foot soldiers. They need to reopen bases. They need to get more on board. And then also in times of no trouble, then you might not need equipment for everybody because people will rotate and so on. But now you actually do need equipment for everybody. And that all drives and accelerates the adaptation of new technologies like ours.
Yeah, I see. My final question is on M&A. You have done one. You mentioned Racal Acoustics here in 2020. You have a solid financial position as well, so that's not an issue. Are there potential targets to look at to add on to your product portfolio, or are you already dominating within what you would like to do?
No, I think we have opportunities. It's not like there are tons of opportunities, but there are different directions we can go, of course, within our current space, but we also are looking at what does the future look like? What will a police officer or soldier look like 10 years from now? What type of technologies are they looking at? And if I just quickly, if I can, go back to the first picture, you can see that a soldier today could also be like the half of this person, something that looks out of a Terminator movie with infrared sight and cameras on the helmet and computers on the chest, and being almost like a small computer central in itself. And there's an opportunity for us to be part of a wider setup on the chest of the body of the user. Today we are audio mainly, but there's also video and data and other things that needs to be part of the information flow. So we have opportunities over time to enter into that area as well.
I see. Exciting. Thank you very much. Time is flying.
Thank you.
So we are end of this session. And thank you very much, Lars.
Thank you.